welcome everybody who's here. We only have an hour tonight, so we have to move more quickly than sometimes we have in the past. And so, you want to call the roll call, do the roll call?
Sure. This is the Committee to Assess and Recommend Strategies for Housing Creation within the town, March 28th, 5:30 p.m. in the hearing room. This meeting is being recorded and will be rebroadcast on the Town of Barnstable Government Access Channel in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. The chair must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. The meeting will be replayed via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live video on demand archives on the Town of Barnstable website. Councilors, Paula Schnapp. Councilor Betty Lucky.
Here.
Councilor Charlie Bloom.
Here.
Councilor John Crow.
Here.
Councilor Gordon Starr. Mary Ann Barboza. Here. Hilda Hay. Rick Presbury.
Here.
Laura Schufelt.
Here.
You have quorum.
Okay. One of our members has asked me to make a quick statement. So.
Cynthia, on Monday, the committee received a memo from several committee members, and on Wednesday, I sent you a memo for distribution to the committee. That's pursuant with the way the town attorney has advised us to communicate to the committee through you. I'd like to ask you for transparency purposes to please post my transmittal to the committee's website. Thank you.
Okay, public, we have, as I said, we only have an hour, so we're still going to have public comment, but try to make it as efficient as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Turkelson, Town Councilor, Precinct 2. I did have the opportunity, after being away, to watch the Community Preservation Committee last meeting. Director Kupfer gave a great presentation on housing, and sometimes you have to hear things 5 times before it sinks in. I guess what I was struck by was the number of developments that are just under the threshold for 10 units, so therefore have no affordability component. So I recommend you all fast forward to that section of the meeting and watch that. I think it's P-Town that's doing one affordable unit for every 6 units developed. So I just want you to watch that meeting and really see that we have lots of builders that are doing 8 or 9 units with no affordability. So I hope you'll consider changing. I know that you've talked about changing the affordability, but I think we're losing this opportunity to capture affordability in those smaller projects, which are fairly popular. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? One response to that comment is that we're trying to finish up here, and there's some feeling that we shouldn't be adding new things at this point. And I'm going to let the committee make that decision, and I'm not going to make it. And I just want to ask the committee, do you think when there's a new idea or a new thing that it's too late to add this to this or not? Please make it quick.
I think Laura.
Oh, you can go.
Okay, I'll make it quick, but I asked you before the meeting started if I also want to make a quick comment. One of the meetings I had talked about, you asked about property, and I was talking about my father's property. All of that stands true, but when I rewatched it, it sounded like I was talking about recently. We are still in the process of working on it, but no one asked me to talk about this. This is my own feeling. Mark Ellis was not even part of this town manager when all of this took place. And that's my own feeling. I needed to get that out, because if you watch it sounds like I'm going after him, and I don't like that. So I want to correct that. This all happened before he ever got in that seat. The other thing, real quick, is I want to talk about whoever left those bag of socks out there, brand new big bag, for people that are freezing, brand new socks. They did it anonymously. You are a blessing, and you are the kind of person that needs to be sitting on these type of committees. Wherever you are, Thank you. And as far as the next step, I agree we should not be adding new stuff. We're too late in the game.
Okay. Laura?
I just wanted to respond quickly to Councilor Turkelson. That's a part of the inclusionary that we have a recommendation for. It would be part of the research around that as to what percentage starting at what number of units. So it's nothing we can do. All we can do is, if it's part of our recommendations to the council, then it's up to the council. Thanks.
Yes.
I would say it's too late to add anything new to this discussion.
So, oh, sorry.
And I agree that it's too late to add something new.
Yeah, and I agree with Laura, this is not new. It's part of the inclusionary zoning, and we absolutely should include it in that discussion. Why we start at 10 units is a mystery. So it's not too late, because it's part of the bigger discussion about inclusionary zoning. So it should be part of that whole piece. Thank you.
Now, we have two documents here that the committee has that I brought. One of them was a summary that I made up in order to have this meeting review this, make changes to it, change the wording, do whatever. Even though some of the things we voted on, it's not too late to correct something that's wrong or undesirable, so there's that. And in the meantime, John sent me, and all of us for that matter, 7 pages of comment about the thing that I had done and had issues with various things about it. Now, it's going to be hard to go through all 7 pages of what he did. I think I'm going to give him a choice to how to handle this. That is, if we spent this whole meeting talking about your thing, we'd have another meeting for this, and we'd have to have 2 more meetings probably. If you can do a summary of this quickly, that's up to you. So,
Other than the preamble, it's 5 pages. And basically, it discusses it uses the same format as the Monday memo that you sent out. And it describes many of the issues that we've already voted on and approved, and the language we already approved and voted on. I believe that we voted on that language, and that's what we should go with. We shouldn't change language at this late date. It also talks about some of the things we discussed and did not vote on, and then there's previously discussed items that were basically tabled. So it goes through the same format. I've got the same format as what was put out on Monday, but it gives comments as to those kinds of issues in the same format with a little comment from myself.
yeah.
Why don't we go through the one that's easier to digest, and then I'd ask Councilor Crowe. Then Councilor Crowe could bring up his comments as we go through. Why don't we work off of this, because it's cleaner and easier to visualize, and then you make your comments at each one. But I would really like to just vote and kind of be done. I'm not sure we're going to do much more. I mean, I think we need to pick out these 3 or 4 and just do it, be done.
Okay, now, I take responsibility for making this up, so if it's perfectly all right with me, if there are things in here that you want to take out or change, I'm not going to be offended by it at all. It was designed to be something we talked about today, and clear and simple enough so that we could probably get it all done in the time we have. But it's not something that I'm defending. You know, I want what the committee wants. Yes.
In all honesty, if we voted on something, that's where it stands. I just can't see how something could be changed. We don't have all the members here, and to knock them out of a vote wouldn't be fair, especially if they thought they voted on it already. The other thing is, brain freeze, move on. I'll come back to it, but
Okay, so-
whatever's been voted on should stand.
So I'm going to just make this as simple and clear as I possibly can. Number one, submit a home rule petition to create a transfer fee of an amount to be determined for houses sold above a certain amount. Revenue from the fee shall be deposited in the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust. Comments?
I'm in favor for this, that it would be a funding source for the trust that is not currently there. Right now, we get some funds from community preservation. It is something that many towns on the Cape and the islands have done special legislation in order to do. This is giving the council the ability to set the minimum and to set the percentage. And I think having a dedicated funding source for the trust to ensure that we have money to do the type of housing that this town needs, and that's affordable housing, is valuable and a tool we should be using.
I agree.
Yeah.
This has previously been discussed, voted upon, and approved in the same language you just read. So I think this issue is
Okay,
already been approved by the committee.
okay. The second one here is increase the percentage of Community Preservation Act funding for housing. Oh, sorry. I keep looking.
Yeah, I know we discussed this before. I'm not comfortable with it. I like the 10-10-10 split and then doing this on an as-needed basis. I think the other aspects of the CPC are as valid as housing, that being the open space and recreation and historical preservation. I'm very much in favor of what we just talked about, and that would give us a needed bonus. And the CPC has been very generous with the Affordable Housing Trust. And I don't see this as a blockage, as a problem, as something that needs to be fixed. So I'm not in favor of this.
I thought this was something that we already voted on. Am I wrong?
Do we vote on this?
It was discussed, it was only discussed. There was no vote on it taken.
Wow.
Laura, did you have something to say?
I guess what bothers me with all of this, even if we talked about it, and for the things that are coming up now, the new items, or if we discussed it, we didn't go deep with it, and we kind of let it go, that we decided not to vote on it, all right? So this is going to sound mean, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but sometimes you feel like you have an underlying discussion over here. And well, let's bring it back to the committee. Well, if we're all going to sit here and do the work and be here and go back and forth, go home and then come back and everything has been changed, or not necessarily all changed, but not, we could have voted on it. Now, if it's something, I don't even remember the whole discussion on it, but why didn't we vote on it then?
Well, because this was a very simple concept. There's not a lot of complicating things about it, and so you didn't need a big discussion. Now, some people are going to be for it and some people are going to be against it. So that's why it happened that way. So it's not a bad thing. It's a simple thing. A lot of these things are super complicated, and you can't really explain them all in a sentence or two. So, okay, that's enough.
No,
Laura, did you have something to say?
wait. It may be enough. Hold on, please don't do that. Yeah, I wasn't finished. Please don't ever put your hand up at me like
Make it
that.
quick.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. But, so if we discussed it and it wasn't important enough and we kind of let it go, or we thought it was so simple and it was a good, whatever you're saying, then if you're bringing it back up, it's still a new item.
There are lots of things we talked about we didn't vote on, but they were voting on them now, so be happy. Yeah.
So, given that the transfer fee is not a done deal, I would vote to include this because community preservation has been very generous with the trust fund recently. But if you look at the total distribution of funds, historic and land preservation have got their more than their fair share. So I would like to see this increased. If not, then the trust will continue to request undesignated funds. But I would like to see to have a consistent number rather than coming back every year and asking for funds that the trust has to do now.
Any more comments?
That sounds reasonable to me.
I happen to agree with Betty here on this one. I think we have flexibility. We have amount required at 10%, but I think as projects come forward and as ideas come forward, we can vote on it then. I don't think this is something that we should move at this meeting. And there's also the argument that this is we've got 5 members of how many members of the committee here today?
There are three
Three
missing.
missing. So there's quite a significant amount. I think it'd be unfair to push something without having the full committee.
I was just going to say we're missing
The
4.
comment I would have is that it's nice to say that we have number 1 and therefore we don't need number 2, but we very well may never have number 1. So that I think that the importance of affordable housing and certainly the environment is just as important. I'm not sure historic preservation is quite at that level, although I'm chairman of the Historic Preservation Group in Marston's Mills, by the way, so I'm not doing this as somebody who isn't involved in that too. So I would vote. You suggested we not vote on it, so we may have to vote on whether or not we vote on it and then vote, right? I don't know if you made a motion or not to vote, but you did say that.
I did say that, but as Laura just mentioned, we had 4 missing instead of 3. I don't think we should include this at this point. It's the last minute, and it could have been voted on prior. So I would vote against doing this.
Yeah.
I would vote to move on.
What?
I would vote I would suggest that we move on
And not vote on it.
and not vote on it. And if it comes up again, I make a motion that we not vote on it, that we move on.
Okay.
Right. And Cindy, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you say some of the committees have asked for an extension? So maybe we can ask for an extension, and then when the more members are here, because I think it's a good idea, but I'm with everyone else. It's not something to vote on tonight.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to vote on this. You want
To move on.
to move on? Do you want to take the count of that, or
Sure.
do we want to just agree to it?
Committee members, Mary Ann Barboza.
Move on.
Sorry about that. Counselor Lutke.
Yes.
Counselor Crowe.
I agree with the motion, yes.
Chair of Committee, Rick Presbury.
Move on.
Laura Schufelt.
Yes.
Move on.
Okay, optimize,
And I vote
Charlie,
for-
I'm sorry.
sorry.
No problem.
What's your vote?
A move on,
Thank you.
sure.
Number 3, optimize state and federal funding for housing, including CDBG and gateway initiatives. I think, part of that is new from when we talked about before, the CDBG and gateway initiatives. Laura?
Given the current situation, it looks like at least home and CDBG are going to be zeroed out. So I think it's kind of moot that it was tabled the last time. I don't think that there's, anything to really vote on here. We can't really optimize something that isn't there.
So,
Yeah, and I'd also say, based on, Laura gave a great explanation of this at the last meeting, and I would put this under maybe the education thing. I don't think there's enough education out there to folks who work in this space to be aware of this opportunity. So I would fold it into education, and when things perhaps change, people would be educated.
I would like to put forward a motion to move on in this also.
Second?
Second.
Committee members, Mary Ann Barboza. Councilor Lutke.
Yes.
Chair of Committee, Rick Prisbray.
Move on.
Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Laura Schufelt.
Yes.
Councilor Bloom.
Yes.
Now, the last two, I don't think have really been part of what we discussed much about before, but correct me if I'm wrong. Reduce property tax levels for year-round rentals. Yeah, I know. That's why I gave you this one to use this.
But this is what you said on Monday.
Well, I don't even have that one.
I think we did discuss this, but we didn't come to any conclusions.
I would like to say that this particular document has been included at the last minute. I think that we should go on these two documents that we already have, and this document here is too late to discuss, or it wasn't shared with the group prior to this meeting.
Well, we'll have to get copies of the other one, hand them out now then.
Well, the other one was sent to everybody on this committee on Monday.
I don't have it with me, but I don't even remember, I don't even remember getting this.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember those two on there. They weren't on there, were they?
Pardon?
I don't remember these two on there.
No, I don't think they were. So,
These two documents are different. This is the one put out Monday to the entire group, and this one I've never seen before. So as having not seen it and not been included with the committee,
okay,
I think this cannot be used today as a document.
okay, well, I'll read off yours too then, we can share it.
She's going to make copies.
Oh, yes, she's gonna make copies. So then we'll take 4 and 5 and just ignore them. The problem is with a,
Because I'm remote here, could you tell me which ones are 4 and 5?
4 is reduce property tax levels for year-round rentals, and 5 is increase taxes for seasonal rentals to support housing efforts.
I don't have that.
Yeah, I have a different document here.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the new document, the other document, which was, so,
We're going
my
to,
fault.
Councilor
So
Bloom, we're
I
going to,
guess, we shouldn't vote on something that,
Yeah, we just dropped them,
yeah.
so we're just waiting for copies to be made.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're good ideas, but I added them, and,
That's what I'm saying, and I think have the members on here to have a whole discussion about this, just wouldn't.
well, we've also decided not to add things anyway, so.
It's just not proper procedure.
So, why don't we go ahead and discuss the next one while she's making copies? You've got it, and read it, just read it to us.
Are we moving to align town resources?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'll read the entire thing. Align town resources to support the creation of housing and administration of housing programs. Underneath are 5 items. First is to designate town property for the creation of affordable housing. Second is to have appropriate staff, 1, assist developers in learning about affordable housing and how to get it accomplished. 2, provide information as needed to help existing projects. And number 3, monitor affordable and all income restricted units for compliance for both homeownership and rental projects. Number 3, establish clear guidelines for any options for inclusionary units besides inclusion in the development, parenthetical, off-site or in lieu of money. Number 4 is market the importance of affordable housing to the public, including the use of 40B. Apply for assistance from CHAPA to create a coalition of support for housing. And number 5, increase the number of affordable units in existing developments.
Okay, so designate town property for,
Well,
is also
I will
not the
say
same.
what Counselor Crowe just read is not what Cynthia just gave
This
us.
is not what Cynthia just gave us. This is what you sent out on Monday. This is the document you sent out on Monday. So this document that she just gave us is not that document.
we didn't give her one to make a copy of. We gave her the wrong one.
I'll
or-
give her this copy that she can make a
Okay.
copy of.
Thanks.
It's all right, no problem. John, I can take it. Okay.
And it might be helpful to put it up on the screen. I mean, that's always been my complaint when I'm watching these. You're clueless because you can't see it
True.
as it's being discussed.
So do we want to talk
That's the one
about
she just
designate
passed
town
out.
property for the creation of affordable housing? That's the next one.
What's the next one?
Designate town property for the creation of affordable housing.
I would say that this falls into the category of being absolutely achievable and doable by the town council. I think it's an absolute win-win. We haven't done it for decades, and I think we could then get the housing we need built versus doing these negotiations with developers. So I'm 100% in support of this one, to start using town property, if not buying town property outright to do this, and to shape the housing we need.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to look.
Sounds good to me.
I'd like to, this has been previously discussed, voted on, and adopted by, and then modified by the Monday memo. The previous one that was adopted read as follows: use town assets, including buildings and land, for affordable housing. That's what's been voted on and adopted.
Here's your original.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, then let's move to the next one. We already voted yes, right?
So we need to, I need to correct that on this new document, because I'm going to end up being the one that makes up the document from this meeting, so I have to have all the subjects right this time.
Yeah.
It's on Councilor Crow's comment.
Okay, well, let's keep going.
Well, I just, I don't want to, if I lose my place, you're never going to get this. We're going to have the same thing happen over and over again. I'm just saying I need to, if you want to take this and do this work for me and say, okay, no, that kind of stuff, so that I don't end up with a document that looks just the same but isn't, and I get the wrong information. I mean, yeah, I've got,
The same language.
I keep track of these.
This is
The
no.
second one is no, third one is no. The
Now
4
we-
and 5s are crossed out, they're not even there, so.
Okay, so this is the document we're working on. Okay, excuse me, then under the title of allowing town resources to support the creation of housing and administration of housing programs.
There's a word change here. I had changed it to property as opposed to
Yes.
resources.
So the statement that has been voted on should say, this is no. You should have the same language as you've got the other form that I sent you. Okay, on page number 3. It says,
Okay.
use town assets, including buildings and land, for affordable housing. Use town assets, including buildings and land, for affordable housing. That was previous voted on and approved.
Including land and what?
Including buildings and land
Buildings and land.
for affordable housing. Why don't you, give me your copy of this, and I can
Yeah, you started out on this one. Why don't you give me yours, and that, this is the one I'm gonna keep track, you've started keeping track of it already.
Okay, all right,
Is that all right?
all right, yeah,
I don't know where
okay,
the other one is. but-
okay. Well, you've got it. in your-
Well, that's
No.
same as,
can be done by me.
Yeah,
So if you want
Cynthia's got it.
your discussion, that's fine.
okay,
All
Yeah.
of this will be done by me. I'll put a document together for you
okay.
so that you have it.
And so, number 2 is have appropriate staff. 1, assist developers in learning about affordable housing and how to get it accomplished. 2, provide information as needed to help existing projects. 3, monitor affordable on all income restricted units for compliance for both homeownership and rental projects.
I would, yes, I would suggest that we, and I offer the following, that the statement we should be working off is the committee recommends that the town council and the town manager, as appropriate, prioritize funding and hiring a housing staff person and/or find other means to immediately commence inventorying existing affordable housing and to effectively monitor and enforce affordability obligations, including but not limited to inclusionary housing, housing funded by the public through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the Affordable Family Apartment Program.
So one of the things, just if I could add something, Jim Kupfer, who's here, has had some experience with this. Some people probably know this, where he worked with 7 or 8 towns in his previous job to get together and to do this as a group and hire a consultant to actually do the work. And then the towns would each pay proportionately according to how many units they had. And so it seems to me that what we really want the council to do, and I'm just talking about real life now, what we really want the council to do is do everything they can to make the county thing work and to join the county effort Cape-wide and to have them hire the consultants to do the work. And then, if there's a legal issue fighting for a landlord, for example, who's cheated on this, it comes back to our department, our legal department. And so I don't know whether we want to recognize that in this or not, or if that's too big a change for today or whatever. I just wanted to provide the information that I knew about it. Was I correct with all of that? Yeah.
So regardless of whether or not the town decides and the program continues with the Regional Housing Service Office at the county, which is going from a grant paid to individual towns having to pay for it, so towns have to sign up for it. There's still a need for housing staff, knowledgeable housing staff. Knowledgeable housing coordinators do not just monitor affordable units. There needs to be someone who understands affordable housing on the staff, that understands the rules and the challenges and the opportunities. And I think that's what's missing, besides the monitoring, which is, as we've discussed, missing, is not the job of a housing coordinator or the county to enforce. They don't have enforcement powers. And that will go back to further down when we talk about inclusionary, making it zoning, that's so that there can be some enforcement. Unless we put enforcement in the inclusionary ordinance with penalties, right now, they get a letter from the attorney, the town attorney. That's not enforcing. So, so the enforcement part of this is not, cannot happen from planning staff or housing staff or the county. They don't enforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Laura makes an excellent point, and I think Councillor Crowe has caught that very nicely, and he's done a very overarching comment. I think this, again, falls into the test that it's something the town council can task the town manager and his staff to achieve this, come back and report to the town council how we're going to. It would include, the regional office and other mechanisms, and I think we're all well aware that enforcement is a problematic issue in many areas. So I like Counselor Crowe, so if we have to vote on something, I think his statement that he read and what he's printed here is ideal for this.
Okay, is there, somebody want to make a motion or make another comment?
I think I've said I'll amend when you make a motion. It's probably the easiest. I think that then the enforcement, this implies or states that the housing staff person would be responsible to effectively monitor and enforce affordability obligations. And I don't think that a housing staff person would have enforcement powers unless that was given to them by
Okay, then I would ask you to amend it. That's a good point. But, regardless, everybody falls under the town manager, so please provide an amendment and let's vote on this.
Yeah.
So do we have anyone who wants to move anything or to describe what it is that we want here?
Well, I'd like Laura to insert the language she proposes, and we'll vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote on the amended motion.
So Laura, for the sake of the person keeping track here, should
So
read the
I
whole
would,
thing.
okay. So I would move that the committee recommends that the town council and the town manager, as appropriate, prioritize funding and hiring a housing staff person to effect, no, I don't, see, they're not gonna, I'll read this as it is. Prioritize funding and hiring a housing staff person and/or find other means to immediately commence inventorying existing affordable housing and to effectively monitor affordability obligations, including but not limited to inclusionary housing, housing funded by the public through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and it's actually the Affordable Accessory Apartment Program, not family. And then we'll deal with enforcement when we get to inclusionary, if that's okay.
Do that? Okay.
Can I just, I don't know if you got the first sentence in this. It's the committee recommends that the town council and the town manager, as appropriate, prioritize funding and hiring. Is that,
I think I said that.
did you? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enforce. Right. And I changed family to,
That left out.
accessory, no family.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I just made the motion.
Second?
Hold on one second. Can you go over the language one more time? What did you take out of that statement?
I took out the word enforce affordability obligations, and I changed family to accessory.
Because that's what the term
That's
is
the
actually
term
for.
is, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Because enforcement comes with a different group.
A different
Okay.
group, yeah.
I'm in favor of that statement. I'll second it.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah. Council Crowe did.
All those, you're going to,
Committee members, Mary Ann Barboza.
I say yes on accepting the new.
Counselor Lutke.
Yes.
Counselor Bloom.
Yes.
Counselor Crowe.
Yes.
Laura Schufelt.
Yes.
Chair of Committee, Rick Presby.
yes.
It's unanimous, it passes.
Okay, the next one is establish clear guidelines for any options for inclusionary units besides inclusion in the development of, and then there's I think you made this comment too. It's really, you're talking,
We're on number 2, which is have appropriate staff. Then we have language. We're on number 2, and then we have language after appropriate staff, assist developers in learning about affordable housing, how to get it accomplished.
I thought we just didn't include that in this.
Okay, if that
Yeah.
was the case, then,
I-
okay, then we.
That was my
pass
understanding, that we
assumed that that was
replaced it.
taken out.
We
Fine.
replaced that whole
Okay.
number 2.
Let's move on.
Okay, so number 3, establish clear guidelines for any options for inclusionary units besides inclusion in the, and I think this is really off-site rather than dollars, isn't it? I mean, it's just,
No, off-site,
it's dollars, I mean, the opposite way around. Do we want to accept dollars in place of housing, is my
It's-
question.
but I'm going to,
What?
because I added this, so I will, this really is, again, part of the inclusionary discussion, and probably should go, is part of it, so it's within that. I think that it's just become clear that the town does not have clear guidelines on how to, if a developer wants to do units in somewhere else off-site, or if they want to give funds in lieu of units. We don't have a formula. It's in the housing production plan, and it was top of mind, and so I added it. I am happy to take it out and include it.
Well,
include it in
I'm
the inclusionary.
curious about this because I've never done this. I know somebody else who did. So the developer has to either promise to build another development somewhere else with affordable units, or to come up with a certain amount of money.
Right, and there should be clear guidelines that the units, and they have to be done simultaneously so that they get done, and that they are of the same quality, and a lot of that stuff, right now, there's institutional knowledge and what I think some of us thought were precedent that, but it's not written down, and without having it written down, you can't rely
I'm
on it.
aware of
Yeah,
this, is that not getting done in some cases.
Yeah, I think all of the above, Rick. I think Laura's hit on something incredibly important. This town has a long and rich history of incredibly poor management in this area and not following through on commitments that developers have promised to do.
Right.
And it's high time we had some clear language and had some better guidance, because we're really losing the battle here on this, and it's just awful. So if we could put that, again, like we've talked earlier, fold this into the inclusionary discussion and really have a good, serious discussion about that. She's right.
Would you like to put that in a motion to remove this?
Yes, I would move number 3 to be a subset of number 3.1.
I'm confused by 3.1.
3.1, 3 is so farther down under, I numbered them, under adopt or revise zoning and general ordinances to increase the supply of affordable housing, the next section.
Oh.
Inclusionary. And I would change the, and I would
What it's
change,
doing, John, is it's really giving some fidelity to that, so that when we do bring that to the council, we know exactly what we need to look at in very great detail, because it's really important to get that right.
Okay, so you're including number 3 on the aligned town resources
Right.
with number 1 on the adopt or revise zoning.
yes.
Okay, and that is not going to be, it's going to be tabled at this point, or basically for a different discussion in a different
Yes.
location. Okay.
Yes,
So it's going to be moved just the way it is.
except say with the, in lieu of units instead of a dollar sign.
Oh, instead of off-site or in lieu of units, okay.
Excuse me, Rick. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding it, because I like it, but with the language that you are saying, but we want to make clear, you're not really changing things up, you're just putting it down. Here's some laws. Really? Right? Okay.
Yes.
I'm there.
Thank you.
So
I'm not sure we have
we
to
don't
vote
need a
on that.
motion.
We'll
We don't
vote
need
on
a
it
motion on that.
going
We'll
forward.
take care of that. We'll take care of that when we get, yeah. We're going to get some no's on this one. Market the importance of affordable housing to the public, including the use of 40B. Apply for assistance from CHAPA to create a coalition of support for housing.
Well, I'll speak. I'm not sure I see the clarity on this. I understand it, but I don't see how the town council would act on this to market this. This would be a tough one to enact. Maybe Laura, I don't know if could you walk through how this would be enacted?
So the, my suggestion was for the applying for the CHAPA Municipal Engagement Initiative that has to be signed off by the town manager or the town council. And they come into the town, work with a core group of people to build a support for housing coalition. And it's been very successful across the states. I know Charlie heard about it at a training that my agency did just yesterday. And I have not been successful in getting a signature from the town to move that forward application. It is very helpful when,
Do you want to change the wording of this one?
I would change it just to apply for assistance from CHAPA to create a coalition of support for housing.
That sounds reasonable. If we haven't done that, that
think-
would
I
be
think
something
that's the point.
achievable, yes.
Yeah, this has not been
No.
entertained and up until now. And I have a problem with advocacy as marketing as something that we want to do to alter public opinion. One of the things this runs counter to, I'm reading from what we have here, this runs counter to the committee's direction at the outset, which was to advance strategies that have public support. Instead, this recommendation goes the other way. It seeks means to try to change public opinion. I don't think we should be in the marketing business on this.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think that allows the public. My experience in Marston's Mills, unfortunately, did include some people that were very opposed to any housing there, who really don't understand how the system works. And part of what we have in our society is the need for educated people because we're a democracy, and people make decisions about what actually happens. And in order to do that, they need to learn things. Even the council has asked us to come forward and do a thing on housing and housing development so they understand it. I think that we're doing everybody a favor if we do the CHAPA thing, and it just helps people understand what it is. So in fact, they make a decision based on reality, not on what they don't know.
I don't disagree with that, but this is the first time I've ever heard the term CHAPA. So we've not talked about
Citizens
this.
Housing and Planning. Yeah, it's well known in the housing field.
Yeah, well,
but it's
that's,
not well known.
but this is the committee we're on talking, we haven't talked about this before.
Right.
I think it's something that it's a last minute thing, and I don't think we had a full discussion of it that's appropriate for this committee.
The problem is, it's a good idea,
Yeah, but can
and
I,
it's one that they probably will do, and it's a shame to just let it go if we don't have to. I mean, this is a last-minute thing, I agree. Yeah.
we touched on this earlier, and for this committee, no. I mean, I'm not trying to, no, but marketing, no. People out there already know. Now, I think it's a great idea to have another whole committee, ask the council, let's start something unrelated to this, to start educating people. But to pretend we need a marketing, I don't care what town in Barnstable, I don't care if they're from Oyster Harbors, I'm sorry, but this is why the general public think committees like this are a joke. Because we're still, when we're trying to find housing for people, we're some way always catering to those that need to be educated. Now, they know, and I'm sorry, I know you're talking about people talking fast, but they have a problem with poor folks and low-income housing in their minds because, one, they think they're black folk or people of color. It's the same principle. To have anybody in this day and age not think there's discrimination out there, whether it be poor or race. This isn't the place. Marketing is for down the road, I'm sorry.
I think this will make a difference in the opposition to affordable housing development. I think it's very important in that way, whether we approve it or not, whether this is the right place to get it from or not, I don't know, but it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But it may be too late to do it for us, and it may be that we don't like the concept, but, I think it would work. I know Chapa really well because I worked with him for years.
I'm not discussing the pros and cons of this one, okay? I'm sure your arguments are good and we could listen to it, but it's something that is put at the last minute. I have a problem with the term marketing. It's like saying that we're trying to convince the public of something that we would like the public to do. Well, the public has its own mind. I don't
Well,
think
it's
we need to.
educating rather than marketing.
Well, that's a difference. If we're educating, that's a difference. But we're marketing, and we're marketing a point of view, whether it's good or bad. We're marketing one side of that issue, okay? And that's why I have a problem with marketing in this respect, other than the fact that it's last minute and we've had a chance to discuss it.
I guess I have a problem with all of it, and I'm coming from a total different perspective. I really am. I mean, I don't care if you use the term educating, or marketing, or whatever. This day and age is pure discrimination. And I don't care. I mean, what we have to hold everyone's hand to say everyone poor this is what we do, and even poor people pay their rent, and even poor people, housing doesn't mean they get things for free.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, okay.
Running out of time. Can
Yeah,
we
I
take a vote
understand
on-
we're
can we
running out
take
of
a-
time,
can we
but
take
every
a vote
time
on-
someone
please,
goes
please,
against it, you
fine.
go, but yeah, right.
You've said that 10 times.
Yeah, and you said it 5.
So do we want to take a vote on that, on this, or not?
I would say this is something that should have had previous discussion. Personally, I want to say publicly, I have no problem with educating the public on affordable housing. But marketing affordable housing versus educating affordable housing are two different things.
I would have liked to have gotten support for this from this committee. However, that if we don't have support for it, I think that we can, some of us individually, can take the idea, try and move the process forward again. We have different staff that may be more supportive of this. I will tell you, it is not just, it's education, but it's also when there's a room full of people and there's 2 people that are in favor of the housing and the rest of the people are all screaming and, against it. It's nice to have already built in a coalition so that there's more than one or 2 people supporting the housing because they understand the need for the housing. And I will, I am okay with removing this with the understanding that it's not going away, but
I mean, I think educating the public is very important, but I think this group right now wants to spend more time on it, doesn't want to do it today.
right.
So we have to take a vote on it, and we'll probably vote no.
I'd like to help out if I can in any way, Laura, in the future with this. Let me know if there's anything I can do.
Thanks, Charlie. I know you saw the presentations yesterday and understand how successful it can be.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that we do not I don't know how to put this. We do not want to take any action on this time on this item.
Second?
Agree with that, because I think it's a good idea, but not for here.
We know, let's vote, because we don't have much time. Come on. I know, but I'm trying to look at the time.
Committee members, Mary Ann Barboza? No. Charlie Bloom?
Yes.
Counselor Lucky?
Yes.
Chair of Committee Rick Persbury?
No.
Counselor Crowe?
Just a point of, what are we voting yes and no for?
Not to take up item 4 at this time.
That would be a yes vote then, a yes not to take this up at this
Oh.
time. So I think we're confused. So can we
Yeah,
have
we
another
did
vote?
confuse that.
Can we have another
Yeah.
vote?
Well,
Good
the original motion was not to discuss this because it wasn't brought forth to the committee to have it looked at. So that's what you're voting on. Correct.
So that would be a yes vote.
Okay, Counselor Bloom?
Yes.
Counselor Lutke?
Yes.
Chair of Committee Rick Persbury?
Yes.
Counselor Crowe?
Yes.
Laura Schufelt?
No.
It passes, that you don't talk.
Can we have 10 more minutes? We'll get to the bottom of this list if we have 10 more minutes, I hope. Okay, where are we? Increase the number of affordable units in existing developments. That's another one that is, I wondered when you put that in, because I was reading it, it's a different, I don't think we ever really, yeah, I don't think we ever discussed this really, and I don't think it's really a good idea right now. It takes a lot of discussion.
I don't think so either, and it says existing development, so what does that mean? So that's the problem here. I think that's what I see as the problem. It hasn't been discussed correctly.
Right.
I'm not sure if we discussed it or not. I think it was brought up a number of times. But buying down market rate rentals is what we're talking about. Buying down, paying the developer or owner to restrict it as affordable. And you can do a present-day value to use funds to write it down to increase the number of affordables in any development. That's what we're talking about.
As I said, I don't disagree with that at this point, but I think this is something that takes a lot further discussion, and was also it's just an add-on that we didn't have a chance to make any discuss before. So I would say that we don't bring this up.
Do you think
And
it's,
I just want to say something on this. I think this is really important. I know what we're talking about. We don't want to do new things. But part of the problem here on the Cape is we have a ton of housing. We just don't have people living in it. And we certainly don't have affordable people living in it. We've all talked about the glut of market rate. This would be an important thing to not have to build new units, but to work within what we have. So I think it's an important thing to consider. Not sure where the money would come from. I'd have to understand that a little bit more. But is it from the Affordable Housing Trust? I don't know. But anything we can do to use what's already built, to me, is enormously beneficial.
Thank you. But it is new. I think, like I asked Cindy earlier, a lot of committees have asked for an extension. And I think that's what we need to do here. And then we can discuss what we'll discuss, because this is a new added-on item. And a lot of them are good ideas, but they're added on. And we had already said when we first started the meeting, let's stick with what was there.
I agree with that. I think the terms existing developments, does that mean a development that's 75 years old, or a neighborhood that's 75 years old, that we can decide now that that's included in existing developments? Or is it developments in the last 5 years, or what we've just done? So I think that question is a lot more broad, or that term is a lot more broad than I think we want to discuss at this point. I think that'll be something that it can be interpreted in so many ways that I'm afraid putting something like this in with this kind of vague language is going to open up a can of worms. That's what I'm afraid of. I don't disagree with what you've both said about changing some of these units, possibly buying some down. But I think this language could be a very major problem. So I just think it needs a further discussion. I couldn't put this through now, considering the language.
No, I agree. It needs more discussion, and in fact, we probably already do it to a certain extent with the accessory affordable apartment program. People come in and out of that all the time. That's a very fluid program. So,
Is this something we want to discuss in our next meeting, assuming we have one, and try to develop it, or just to let it go?
I think at this point, we are so far along in the game, it's hard to do so. And I would suggest that we don't act on this, even though I think it's probably could be a great idea. Okay, at this point, though, we're missing 4 of the other committee members, and we're basically getting down to the end here. And this is another one that's been put in without discussion, and I don't think something should be put into last minute. We've had issues in the council with last-minute things that have caused major issues. I don't think we should go down that road at this point.
Well, I'm half and half. I don't think we should deal with this today. I thought what we were looking at is what did we actually vote on? What was accomplished and completed to make the recommendation to the council? Once we've done that, then with an extended meeting, we can say we can bring this up, because this is really a very important issue, and we don't want to throw it out the window. But for today, I would like for us to finally say, okay, we did A, B, C, and D. This is what we've done, and this is what's going. But we're never going to finalize anything if we can't, if every second we're bringing in new things. Not that they're not good things.
The one concern I have is this is complicated, but we're not the ones who are answering all those complicated questions. It goes to the council, and then it probably goes right here to Jim to figure out how to do it. So, I wouldn't even want us to decide how to do this specifically and answer your questions. But I don't disagree that bringing things up at the last minute is not a good idea. It is disappointing if it's something that we think might happen and might make a difference, and we're just not doing it because the timing wasn't right. So I'm just saying, it'll keep me awake at night, but other than that, I understand the problem. Laura?
Just for information, it was on our list in February. We just didn't get to it. It's right there. Well, that says new development.
What?
That does say, it doesn't say existing developments, it says new developments.
Yeah,
So
that was
that's-
the problem.
See, is existing developments, the word existing, that is the stopping point here, I think, to
I agree.
trip up.
Well, I agree, except that, any time we can get affordable housing in existing housing, whether it's a ranch or an apartment or something else, I think, if we had a way to, if we had a transfer fee, or if the trust has additional funds from the CPA, it's a lot less money than building a new unit. So, anyway, I think.
how about if we said, explore programs to increase the number? I mean, not to definitively do, but explore programs available to do.
How about explore ideas to increase the number of affordable housing units in existing developments?
I'll go for
That
that.
I like that, because then we could task the count, again, I always look at what Rick said early in this. Has to be something achievable that the town council can do, and we could task the staff to do that, come forward, do a workshop, and, include like the accessory affordable program. What are we doing in there to enhance people to stay in it? The only ones I see are people coming out of it. I see very few going back into it.
the one drawback is existing developments, okay? Because that's everything. Everything is here that's ever been developed is an existing development. And so I think a neighborhood is an existing development.
It wasn't intended to be single-family housing, I don't think, but Laura
I'm
said
just
something.
saying that's what the language is troublesome here by adopting that. So go ahead, Laura.
I don't think single-family affordable housing is a problem. In making a single-family house affordable shouldn't be a problem. It gives a, working family a home and home ownership. That's not to say that we can't change this to explore ideas to increase the number of affordable housing in existing properties.
Yeah. I think when we first discussed it, we discussed multifamily, and then it got changed a little bit, and that kind of hurts it, because we weren't sure exactly the direction we wanted it to go. But I think your point just now is a good one.
Yeah, I mean, again, it would take, probably a lot of money to do it, but I would hate to cut off the opportunities if there's any out there to do that, especially if someone is willing to take less for their house in order to make it affordable.
If we could have,
Gotta go.
Cindy, what is the process on an extension? Just put it in for you and you ask for it for us?
The chair of the committee would send an email to the town council president requesting an extension of the March 31st sunset date to a couple weeks out, or whatever date the chair decides he needs.
Okay, thank you.
So it would just go right to the town council president.
All right, thank you, because I think, a lot of these, and I'm sorry to harp on this, but this is also, it's a good thing, and we're stuck up on a little bit of language. So maybe if you put in for an extension, we can agree what 2 or 3 top items will be the things that we discuss. But I think if every time we walk in here, language has been changed, or that's what creates our stoppage.
So let me
I
ask
don't
you,
know, we're so close now. I'd like to just press and get this done. I'm happy with the language as amended by John and Laura. Are you okay with, I thought it was very well amended.
I'm okay with it. If the majority of the committee is okay with it, I'm okay with it. But I guess I had a thing because all the members weren't here. We were bringing new items to the table.
I think
but-
it's an
but if
important
we-
one, and it's a shame to let go, but
I just,
do we need more meetings
Let's
to do
vote.
it? Yeah.
Let's vote.
okay, we'll vote, but let's also, wait a minute, before we even vote, I think there's still discussion for other things that, no, I'm sorry. We should have an extension, one more meeting for even the members that aren't here. So we can vote on this, fine. If everyone else is fine with it, I'm fine with it.
Cindy, would you read what the amended language was, so we all know what we're voting on, please?
It was explore ideas to increase the number of affordable units in existing developments.
Properties.
Properties?
Oh, yeah, that was the big change.
I would move that.
I'll second it.
Committee members, Mary Ann Barboza. Councilor Bloom.
Yes.
Councilor Lutke.
Yes.
Chair of Committee, Rick Presby.
Yes.
Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Laura Schufelt.
Yes.
It passes.
We're on our last section here, and maybe we can get to the goal line here. Increase inclusionary zoning requirements based on current data and needs as zoning ordinance enforceable by the zoning compliance officer.
Absolutely. Didn't we already discuss this? I mean, this gets to Laura's point. We need enforcement, and we need to do this in the right mechanism. Absolutely.
Yes. And by putting it under the zoning compliance officer, there's already penalties and procedures that go along with it, and appeal processes, so it's not reinventing the wheel, which we would have to do if we kept it a general ordinance. In order to have compliance, we'd have to add all that. And so simplify. And I will tell you that in all the communities that I work in the state, this is the only, we have the only inclusionary general ordinance or general bylaw. Everyone else has it as a zoning that I know of.
Laura, would this help us in our regulatory agreements to enforce those? We have numerous violators of our regulatory agreements.
Well, it's inclusionary housing, the affordability, if it's inclusionary, yes.
So can I ask a question? Are we doing the zoning committee's work here?
No.
Okay,
And they may have it on their list as well, but this is an affordable housing. This is
Okay.
important to get the ordinance rewritten to be up to date and based on facts.
Now, is this part of the language that we were talking about that went with the other? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
John, are you okay?
We ready to move?
You know, while he's checking, number 2, we already voted on, and that passed, so we don't have to discuss that again.
okay, create a regulatory structure for short-term
We
rentals.
already did that.
You already voted on, so just wanted to saying that for your sake, yeah. Increase flexibility and density in appropriate zoning districts. I don't think that's.
I
our
don't
job,
think
is
we've
it?
That,
discussed
I
that.
think, is being taken up for the zoning.
Yeah, I think so,
I
too.
think we ought to strike that one.
I do, too.
I think we ought to, no,
Three.
we're on number 3 where you're
We're
thinking.
doing it while you're reading.
Because we already voted on the second one, the short-term rentals passed at our previous meeting.
And we didn't discuss 3, and the zoning committee is
They
working
are
on
working,
that.
I know they're working on that right now,
Okay.
So we're
as
gonna-
is the local comprehensive planning committee.
So we're going to take the increased flexibility and density in appropriate zoning districts out of our list because
Yes,
because the zoning committee is doing it.
the last one. yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we're
the
waiting
only
for
thing we have
John.
left here is,
Is John's view on the first one?
yeah, one.
I'm okay with the number 1.
Okay,
And then we were adding the established CLAR guidelines as well.
Establish what?
We were moving, CLAR guidelines, we were moving that down with the inclusionary.
Yeah.
Cynthia, do you have
do you have that?
that language that 3 goes down,
3 goes down under adopt a revised zoning and general ordinance.
number 1?
Right,
It adds on to number 1,
added on to number 1.
and it's in lieu of units. The end of that sentence from,
Correct, off-site or in lieu of units.
great, thank you.
Any further comment on that?
She said off-site and in lieu of units? Is that what you just said? That's inaccurate. It'd be off-site or in lieu of dollars, right?
No, it's in lieu of
Changed it to units.
Oh, we did?
payments. It should be payments in lieu of units, sorry,
Payments in lieu of units.
payments in lieu.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So what are we going back on that? That was something we decided not to.
We decided to move that down into
Oh,
the
yeah, okay.
inclusionary. I think I'll move it unless anyone has any other comments.
Are you moving it?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second?
Committee members, Mary Ann Barboza.
Do we have a discussion on this?
Oh,
I asked if there was a discussion. No one said
I
anything.
didn't hear it.
Okay.
I think this, personally, I think this needs more discussion, to tell you the truth. Most of this guidelines were we were trying to, from what I understand, the genesis of the whole argument was that if you're going to build a development, that you're going to include in that development, on that site, inclusionary units or affordable units. What we would be voted on now would be a separation of those two. No. You don't think so?
There's, in our ordinance right now, there are options, and in most inclusionary, there are options. I'm fine with not having an option and having it inside, within. But you have some developments that don't lend themselves to affordable housing, and you can get, if the guidelines are written correctly or clearly, you can get more units as opposed to having waterfront units. And so this then gives you would establish clear guidelines as to what the correct compensation is for not doing it inside the development. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay.
Okay, and also a formula if, rather than off-site, a developer wanted to pay instead. So usually it's the delta between the market and the average market price, which is what we did at Tradewinds and 20 years, more than that, 25 years ago, and got $1 million to fund the first fund for the trust fund. So instead of 2 units, so.
Is there a
Okay.
second to the motion? Do we get
There
a
was a
second?
second, Betty
Okay.
second.
Okay.
Any further
Ready
discussion?
to vote?
Counselors Lutke,
Yes.
Bloom,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Committee Member Mary Ann Barboza, Chair of Committee, Chair of Committee Rick Presbury,
Yes.
and Laura Schufelt.
Yes.
It passes.
Wow. So do we need, is there a need for us to have another meeting?
No.
Let me ask one more thing for myself. While I was, distracted, we have a yes on number 2 in the last page, create a regulatory structure for short-term rentals. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's
Did we-
correct.
Did we vote on it?
We voted on it in February, and it passed
Voted
at the
vote,
last,
okay.
yeah.
And the last one, increased flexibility and density, that's a no.
We dumped it?
We removed that because the committee felt that the zoning committee was handling that.
Okay, that wasn't necessary of a vote.
No.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well, I have a question. You were talking about another meeting.
Well, one of
What
the, I have
about-
another issue.
There were, yes, there were 2 things. We said we would discuss something about you wanted to educate and train people, and you wanted us to have a discussion on that. And the other was, it was something else that was here. I can't recall it right now, but we were going to discuss later. And I just think some of the members are out sick. I mean, it's up to everyone else, but there's 4 members not here. And do you think that they would like to have a last say and to know what our final, and who makes this recommendation to the counselors? When does it go? How does it done?
I would think that would be up to the chair to do. And as to if people are not here, they're not here. We can't keep, rescheduling because people aren't here. We have a Zoom capability, so they could be Zooming in from anywhere. So I think we should vote. I think we're good, Mary. I think we've had amazing discussions
Well,
here.
yeah, okay,
And we're not done. I mean, you're not done. There's going to be plenty of advocacy as this goes to the town council, as we all hand everything over to Jim Kupfer. There'll be a lot of opportunities, but I think we've done our due diligence here, and we're ready to wrap it up.
Well, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, if the committee members don't feel we need another meeting, then fine. I'm 100% okay with that. But will we be notified when it's put to the council?
The final document, Mary Ann, will be distributed to every committee member here before it's given as a presentation to the town council, so that you can all see it, view it, and make sure that the language I included in all the other meetings and in today with the votes is the accurate ending document.
Okay, and I guess my biggest question is, before the council makes their decision on what recommendations they're going to accept, will we have a chance to talk to okay, that's my biggest question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, public comment is every council meeting.
Yep.
What I also want to say, Mary Ann, is that a part of what we did tonight was say some of these new things were tabled because the other people weren't here, basically, and it's also last minute at the same time. So Betty's right. If you show up and you know, those who show up make the decisions. But I think we did a good job tonight in saying, you know, some of these things weren't here. It's not fair to bring them up at this point. So I agree with that. And as for Cynthia, when we get that document, we'll all look at it. Do we need one more meeting to adopt it or not?
That's up to the chair, but if there's not any discrepancies in the document that I send you, you can individually send me your approval that says the document is accurate, and then it can be presented to the chair as a final document, but you don't need to meet again. It can just be as a matter of accuracy.
I think we're all happy with that. That's good.
There are,
Thank
there's a couple of things. I'm not quite sure how we present this to the town council. Do we just give them pieces of paper and that's the end of it?
The leadership of the town council will reach out to you and give you a date for a presentation in front of the entire council, and you'll come with either yourself and another committee member, and the rest of the members can join if they choose. But he has already told the zoning committee that they can present April 1st if they wanted to. But we also have to keep in mind that we're heading into budget season.
Yeah.
So the first meeting in April is basically a first read for that budget items, but
Yeah.
April 17th is definitely an all-day meeting or an all-night meeting. So he won't have you present then, but probably the first meeting in May.
Yeah.
Now, excuse me, when he presents, he could bring another committee member, but even if the other members are here, because this obviously won't be a town council meeting, or will it be?
Oh, yeah, no, it will be.
It will be, so
Yep.
everyone can speak. I got it.
Yep.
Got it.
Anybody can speak.
The other question I have is that they told me at a council meeting informally, I thought it was informal, that they wanted us to make a presentation about housing development and affordable housing. And so I put this off because I felt that we should do this first, and that wasn't any emergency. So at some point, and we would have to do that. And the question is that something the committee wants to do as a whole, or that we pick up 2 or 3 people from the committee? Well, of course, we've got town councilors here that'll already be there anyway, but, obviously, I mean, I know what I would do, but I don't know what they want exactly.
I can clarify with leadership what they're looking for and get back to you and let you know. That way you have a better idea of who needs to be there and what information you are going to
We have
present.
councilors here. I did talk to the chair at one point, and, he was very nice, but nothing specific.
Yeah, but was he talking about presenting your committee work or doing a separate
Asking-
presentation on housing that
I was
has
asking
nothing
about
to
the
do with these
presentation.
members here?
Yeah, the committee work, you have a pretty good idea how we present that, but the developing housing, the housing project thing is a whole different subject, really.
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with this committee.
Well, yeah, but it was mentioned
Yeah.
to me as chair of this committee, that's why I'm.
I don't know. I don't think that's the purview of this committee. I think
No.
that's the purview of our Director of Planning, Jim Kupfer, to do that, and to reach out to whatever the subject matter experts he needs to make that presentation. If there is a presentation, it falls into the workshop kind of category.
Well, with that, I want to thank everybody on the committee and those watching, including those on Zoom, for what they've done, and at times they probably are frustrated with me, and I can understand why, but, this is a little different kind of a job for me than what I had for my career, and so I fumbled around a little bit, but you were very helpful. It's a very important subject to me. It's probably why I'm chair of this, because they knew how important it is to me. And I hope the council finds things within this that they actually do to make our time worthwhile. And a lot of you did the best to make that happen.
I just want to say one thing. We've never gotten through this entire list, and I want to especially thank Councilor John Crow. You took the time and you just went through and you really solidified and helped us do this. So thank you so much. Your work is real top notch. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and but this committee, we've spent a lot of time meeting, and we had a full out no holds barred discussion, everybody's opinions, and I think it went well, and it says something for Rick for doing this. I appreciate you spending your time, and I'm glad we finally got through it, and at a date that we had already set up with the council to be finished. And so everybody did a great job on this committee, and I appreciate your kind words, but it's we've all done a yeoman's job, and everybody's put a 2 cents in here, so congratulations to all.
Thank you, John.
Well, I guess I have
Need
to
a
say,
motion to adjourn.
I guess I don't have to say.
I will thank everyone as well, too, for bearing with me through my, through my educational, my educational, sometimes long-winded explanations. So, thank you all.
You were crucial to this committee.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing. I thank all of you, and when I get frustrated, it shows on my face. All of y'all know that by now. But I appreciate a lot of the housing things, even that one last thing we did. The way you explain it, because you have that expertise in that right there. And it's a good thing, And I know I talk a lot, y'all, so, oh, well, what can I say? It's never going to change. My brothers and sisters know. Shut up, Cindy. If there is a mic in the room, I'm going to find it.
I apologize to you tonight because I was not nice to you tonight, because I was just so concerned about the time and getting us so that we could finish this tonight. That's all.
Oh, I understand that, but if you notice, I didn't cry. I just came back at you and said, don't put your hand up at me no more.
I've been punched around now and then anyway.
Hey, I don't hold back.
Hey, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Committee members, Mary Ann Barboza,
Yes.
Counselor Lutke,
Yes.
Counselor Bloom,
Good night,
Yes.
Charlie.
Chair of Committee Rick Presbury,
Yes.
Counselor Crowe,
Yes.
Laura Schufelt.
Yes.
You are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. You did a great job.